Do you want to grow on Instagram? Well, you clicked on this video, so yeah, that's probably why you're here. Well, there's some new fascinating data that's come out in regards to Instagram here at the end of 2023 that's really going to affect the way that you post in order to grow your following in 2023 and into the future of 2024. Now, for the last 9 months, I've been polling my audience and I've been hearing from the vast majority of my followers that their Reels views have gone down. Depending on the specific poll, it's anywhere from 60 to 90% of respondents will tell me that their views have decreased on their Reels over the last few months. But now we have actual data that supports the claim that Reels views have gone down for pretty much everyone. In fact, according to this new study from Metricool, in which they looked at over 300,000 Instagram accounts and over 1 million Reels posted, they found that the average views received by a Reel in 2022 was over 20,000 views. But now in 2023, the average amount of views received by a Reel is less than 4,500. In fact, it's over a 75% decrease in just 1 year. If you're like me, then the first question you're going to be asking when you see these crazy numbers is, why did this happen? And I think it would be silly to say that there's only one clear reason why this happened. There's likely multiple factors contributing to the significant decrease in Reels views. But in my opinion, the most significant factor contributing to this massive drop in views is simple supply and demand. And this study from Metricool also shows us that the average account is posting more Reels in 2023. Of course, it varies depending on how many followers your account has, but according to this study, people are posting between 30 and 90% more Reels each month right now in 2023 than they were in 2022. That means that there's a significant increase in supply. There's a lot more Reels, a lot more competition, a lot more posts, a lot more videos being shared, a lot more filling up the feed. But let's look at the other part of the supply-demand equation, which is, of course, demand. Demand on Instagram hasn't necessarily changed. If anything, it's slightly decreased from 2022 to 2023. In 2022, the average Instagram user spent about 12 hours per month on Instagram, and in 2023, they're spending about 11.7. So it's a slight decrease. That adds up to only a few minutes per day, but a few minutes less per day on Instagram, coupled with 30 to 90% more Reels that you're supposed to consume in that same time, that just means there isn't enough attention to go around. That's why for the last few months, my mom and I have been saying that we are in a social media recession. We don't mean to be doomsdayers or to be super negative, but when you look at basic supply and demand, supply has significantly increased, yet demand has pretty much stayed the same or even decreased a little bit. And so in my opinion, that's the biggest reason for the decrease in Reels views. I think the second most likely reason that Reels views have decreased is that the bar for what makes a high quality Reel has really increased. Oftentimes when I'm talking about this decrease in views, people will say, my content isn't that bad. It's the same as it was a year ago. It hasn't gotten any worse. And that's exactly the problem. It's the same as it was a year ago. It hasn't gotten any worse. But what we're not saying is that it has gotten better, because that's really the bottom line. If your content is not constantly getting better, and I know this sucks to hear, but if your content is not constantly getting better, it's going to be tough to be able to retain the same viewers. I don't care if you're a director who makes movies. I don't care if you're a TikTok star. I don't care if you're making Instagram Reels. You have to constantly be creating better and better content in order to satisfy the demands of the social media algorithms and of the general population and audience. And I'm saying this to you as someone who, me myself, has to constantly strive to make better and better content. I'm not saying that this is what I necessarily wish it was like. I'm not saying that this is, necessarily the most fair or like the most enjoyable outcome or circumstances. But what I am saying is that this is the facts. This is the reality of social media. With billions of people online and with billions of people posting every single day, the bar is constantly going to be raising. What is entertaining, what is captivating, what is valuable to our audience, that is constantly going to have to be leveled up. And so if your content in 2023 looks pretty much like what you were posting in 2022, well, then we have a problem, because the cream of the crop, the best of the best content in 2023 doesn't look like it looked like in 2022. It looks a lot better. It's a lot more engaging, a lot more captivating. It's a lot more interactive and fun. And so for that reason, the average person who is posting just a little bit better or pretty much the same as they were a year ago is going to fall behind. You're going to get left out. You're not going to get the views that you feel you deserve or the views that you were getting a year ago. And now when we talk about leveling up your reels and improving the quality of your content, there are thousands, quite literally, so many variables that can come into play that could improve the quality of your reels. It's not just the actual like video quality, are you using a nice camera? Do you have a nice microphone? Do you have good editing? But there's so many other little factors. Things like color psychology, things like the hooks you're using, things like your storytelling, things like the call to action at the end of your video. There's literally so many variables that I could just list off right now that you could look at and consider to improve your Reels views. And of course, some of these things will make more significant differences than others. And of course, we teach all those things. We talk about all of these variables, and we really break down what the most important ones are and how to improve them in the InstaClubHub, which, by the way, free shout out for myself. If you aren't already a member of the club, you can check out everything that we have to offer, every training we have, every live training that we've done over the last 2 years. You can check all of that out for just $7. You get a 2-week access for just $7. And then after that, you can decide to stick around if you find it valuable. If after the 2 weeks, you're like, this isn't for me, then by all means, you're welcome to cancel and just go back to consuming the free content here on Build Your Tribe. But if you want the link to that, you can go to instaclubhub.com/trial, or you can click the link down in the show notes below this episode. But let me give you the top 3 areas that I would focus on in order to improve the quality of your reels. And these are 3 things to focus on if you already have the basics covered. So if you already have the basics of lighting and audio and spacing and cropping and text alignment and text positioning and all of that stuff down, then these are the 3 a little bit more advanced areas that you could focus on to really take your reels to the next level. And first and foremost, the area that is arguably the most important of your entire reel is the hook. Those first 3 seconds, that opening phrase, the opening word, the sound effect, the audio cue, the visual cue, whatever is happening at the very beginning of your video, it has to be so captivating, so impactful. That's where I would spend the majority of your time, because that's going to make or break the entire video. I don't care how much value you pack into the reel. I don't care how much storytelling you do. I don't care how much editing you do in the reel. I don't care how great second 3 through whenever the end of the video is. If second 1 through second 3 isn't captivating enough and it isn't hooking people in, then the rest of it's a waste, because the majority of people just aren't going to watch it. It's the same idea how Mr. Beast has famously said that on YouTube, he'll spend up to $10,000 per thumbnail to split test and try different options and have the best possibly designed thumbnail, because no matter how great his videos are on YouTube, if you aren't captivated and hooked in by that thumbnail, then you're not going to watch the video. On Instagram, however, people aren't necessarily seeing your covers or your thumbnails, and so they're not as relevant. But what is relevant and what is just as important on Instagram is the hook. The very beginning of the video, the start of the reel, if it is not captivating, if it's not going to grab people and make them want to watch till the end, then you need to revisit it. And I'm saying this is how every one of your reels should be. Not just every once in a while, but every one of your reels. You need to really focus on and study hooks, study other top creators, study what's working for yourself and what's working in your industry to figure out what the best and most effective hooks possibly can be. The second thing that I would focus on with improving the quality of your reels is improving view duration. And that's more of an outcome from your audience, but it's something that you can focus on intentionally creating through your video. And what does that mean? Well, view duration is essentially how long are people watching your videos? What percentage of your videos are being watched? Are people only watching the first 5 seconds, or are people watching the entire video, 100% of the video? And so there are multiple ways to improve view duration. Some of the simplest ways are to edit out any redundancy or any pauses, any breaths that you're taking during the reel, any momentary distractions where you might be thinking of what you're going to say next. Basically, you want to eliminate what's called dead air or dead space from your reels. That's a good way to improve view duration. And then another great way to improve view duration is just to really make sure that your reels are as short as they can possibly be. Don't blabber on. I know sometimes we're long-winded. I know sometimes we're experts on a topic and we just really want to share all of this information, but it might be better to leave out some information and to instead put that info down in the caption below your reel so that people will watch the full reel, the full duration, 100% of it, and maybe it will even continue to play and loop over and over again while they read your caption and consume the rest of the value. And then the third thing that I would focus on, maybe the third most important area that you can really make a big difference in your reels, is in the value that you are delivering. But a key thing that I want to say here is that value, when I'm talking about social media content, isn't necessarily an educational tip. That's usually what we think of when we hear value. When we hear valuable content, we think, oh, it's got to be, a quick tip. It's got to be an educational insight, something like that. But really, value is solving a problem that your followers know they have. That's when it's valuable to them. Value is also captivating their emotions through a powerful story, through a quote, through some sort of analogy, through a personal experience. Value is also feeling seen or heard, or sharing relatable content so that your audience can feel seen and heard. So improving the value that you are delivering is a surefire way to improve the quality of your reels. If I were to ask your followers, how much would they pay to see your posts? I would hope that they would say, oh gosh, I'd easily pay $20. I'd easily pay $50. I'd easily pay $100 just to see every one of Cheryl's posts. If that's the case, your posts are very valuable. But if when I said that just now, you were like, what? My followers probably wouldn't pay anything to see my posts. I would probably have to pay my followers to look at my posts. Well, then your posts are likely not valuable enough, and that is a great way that you can improve the quality of your reels. But again, let's go back to this original conversation of reels views going down and this supply-demand imbalance within the Instagram economy. Even if you're significantly improving your reels, you're still fighting an uphill battle. You are still fighting against an area of Instagram where people are posting a lot of content, and yet their engagement and their views are continuing to go down. So let's talk about what you can do instead of posting reels and what you can do besides just improving the quality of your reels. And you might have figured this one out already, but it's posting non-reels. I think one of the biggest keys for growth as we head into 2024 with your Instagram strategy is increasing the number of photos and carousels that you are sharing on Instagram. Back in the summer of 2022, Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri said that we are going to be, quote, balancing out the reach between reels and non-reels. He also said, quote, we went too far with reels and pushing them out to our audience and really just over prioritizing them within the feed. And that's part of the reason that people were getting such hyper inflated views on their reels in 2022. And it was extra crazy if you had an even lower following. According to this study by Metricool, if you had less than 500 followers in 2022, your average reels views were about 1,200. That's more than double the number of followers you had. And if you had between 500 and 2,000 followers in 2022, then your average Reels views were about 1,600. So you were almost getting 100% of your following, or maybe you even were if you were on the lower end of that spectrum, on your Reels in 2022. But now, like I said, in 2023, the number of views that you're receiving, no matter what size following you have, has significantly decreased. But there are two kinds of posts on Instagram that have actually been getting more reach in 2023 than they were on average in 2022. And they are the two kinds of non-reels, photos and carousels. In fact, in 2022, the average photo or image post received about 1,850 views. And in 2023, it's receiving over 2,000 views. And also, I should note that I'm using the words reach and views interchangeably because they're almost the exact same thing. In 2022, the average carousel post received about 2,300 views. And in 2023, it's receiving 2,600 views. So that's a 13% increase in just 1 year. The average carousel is also receiving over 15% more interactions, which are, basically just engagement, likes, saves, comments, shares, those sorts of things in 2023 than it was in 2022. And again, part of the reason for this is supply and demand. The demand on Instagram is pretty much the same as it was a year ago, but the supply of carousels and photos has significantly decreased. That means there's a lot less competition. That means there's a lot less other posts, other photos and carousels that people have to fight with and that your posts have to fight against in order to get seen on the feed. So like I said, moving forward on Instagram, one of the biggest ways to grow, one of the biggest keys to success is going to be having a healthy mix of reels and non-reels shared to your feed. An Instagram strategy that ignores reels is not a very healthy or beneficial strategy. And an Instagram strategy that ignores non-reels, that it's ignoring photos and carousels, is also not a very healthy strategy, and it's not likely going to be very effective for you, your brand, or your business. And here's a very easy, quick recommendation that I'm going to make for you. Go back to 2022 and scroll through some of your reels. Find some of your reels that were maybe the best performing. Maybe they got the most views or they got the most interactions and engagement, and then turn those reels into non-reels. How would you do that? Well, if it was a talking direct-to-camera reel, let's say you were giving some sort of like educational tip and you were speaking directly to the camera, well then you could just transcribe that video and then use the words that you said and turn that into a carousel post. Let's say one of your top performing reels was like some sort of funny meme, like it was a quick little video, maybe it was a lip sync, a trending audio, and you had some text over the screen and it blew up and did really well. Well, you could recreate that in 2023, but you could post it as a still image meme. Maybe the quote is from a movie, and so you're just going to take a screenshot from that moment in the movie and use that as your meme, as your image post in 2023, with the knowledge that that is already something that is funny and relatable to your audience because you posted it as a reel in 2022. Maybe you posted a reel that was really short and it just had kind of like a hook on the screen, and then you told people to read the caption, and your caption had some tips or a story or some sort of educational information. You could use that caption and turn that into a carousel or a photo post, or a photo post that is a text post, like it's just got text on the screen and it's an infographic. But there are so many different ways that you can reuse and repurpose the content that you've already created. So don't stress yourself out with making new photo posts and new carousels and new ideas. Instead, just take the reels that you've already posted in the past that have done well and repurpose them, turn them into carousels and photo posts for 2023 and into 2024. Also, I know I gave a shout out to the InstaClubHub earlier, and I did want to let you know that we do a monthly live training every single month in the club. All of our club members are invited to attend that live training, and they're always recorded. So I mentioned earlier that you get access to all of the past lives, and that is true. When you join with the $7 trial for those 2 weeks, you get access to every single live training we've done going all the way back to 2020. You can watch it all if you wanted, binge watch every single lesson. But what I wanted to let you know right now is that our next live training, which is taking place in exactly 2 weeks on October 24th, that is going to be all about the topic that we were talking about at the end of today's episode. We're going to be talking about how to grow on Instagram without using Reels. We're going to be giving you actual strategies and actual templates to use for your carousels and your photo posts, things that have been proven to work, proven to help you grow your following and reach new people so that you can continue to have success on Instagram without just banging your head against the wall and posting more and more and more reels and trying to get better and better and better at your reels. Instead, let's take the easier path, let's say, and post more carousels, post more photos. That's what we're going to be talking about in that live training. So again, you can join with that $7 link down in the description below this video, instaclubhub.com/trial, and you'll be able to attend that live training. Thank you so much for watching today, and as always, happy networking.